December the 6th, 1921. I'll have it for you, or a lot of years in between if you want to do that. A lot of years in between. Now, I'd say this to you, Deputy Adams. You come in here, and you start off in Irish or German or Spanish or whatever language you want to speak.
Without interruption,
and that's perfectly fine by me. And then you make the charge that it's wrong and it's unfair and all the rest of it. Now, I've pointed out to you, one of my responsibilities as Taoiseach is to give sanction to advisers. I've pointed out that in this case, a person that you named and your party named, who's not here to defend himself, was well in excess of these guidelines when he was working for the party which I lead. And because of his particular expertise, and because of his ability here, he was chosen as an advisor by the Minister for Enterprise, Jobs and Innovation. And I sanctioned that. But I put this to you, Deputy Adams, and the next time you stand up, you might be fair and you might indicate that something is wrong as well. Because I understand that in the 2-year period to the end of this March, the Sinn Féin MPs claimed 969,328 sterling in staff payments. And you, sir, before your election to this Dáil, Deputy Gerry Adams, claimed 106,880 sterling for his staff in a parliament in which you never attended.
I called Deputy Higgins. I called Deputy Higgins. Sorry, will you please? Will you please? Would you please? Deputy Higgins, thank you. Would you please stay quiet? I called Deputy Higgins. Deputy Higgins, please.
I'm sure all those ordinary people out there today suffering and looking forward to the savage cuts will be very impressed looking in here this afternoon. Taoiseach, do you accept that at the heart of the political establishment in this state there is a monumental hypocrisy? When the same cuts, child benefit and in other areas that were delivered and promised yesterday, when delivered last year by Fianna Fáil, were greeted with shrieks of opposition from the main Fine Gael and Labour spokespeople, shrieks that would put a swarm of vuvuzelas to silence, and yet are the very ones recommending them this year. Taoiseach, I watched your State of the Nation address, so-called, and read it again and again, and I wondered, what was it all for? When you repeated merely the platitudes of 9 months ago. But when you said, we will do all we can to protect the most vulnerable, our children, the sick and the elderly, can I ask you to agree that you are guilty of the most monumental hypocrisy? Since yesterday, Minister Howlin did attack the children, the sick and the elderly in many forms. And can I ask you to acknowledge that you did not make the difficult choices as you claim, but continued to obey the diktats of the sharks in the financial markets, orchestrated by Merkel and Sarkozy, that working people and poor must pay for the financial crisis of the European banking system? Taoiseach, are you aware that there are substantial assets and wealth held by the very richest in this society which are absolutely untouched by your government?
Thank you.
Do you know that the Central Statistics Office in a survey totaled the net financial and other assets for 2010 in the state at 468 billion after liabilities and debt? That Credit Suisse,
thank you,
multinational financial services company, estimated that the wealthiest 5% in this state owned 46% of those assets, giving them 219 billion euro net of loans, when a 5% tax on that would yield 10 billion euro. Why do you not look in that direction and take from those who wouldn't even feel it, but you feel free to hit the disabled, the children, the sick and the elderly.
Taoiseach.
Well, I'm glad that you read my State of the Nation address 3 times. Repetitio mater studiorum est, as they used to say. The position is that you forgot to mention the fact that I did say in that State of the Nation address that I'd like to be able to tell everybody that they were going to be unaffected by the budget, but I couldn't do that. At least somebody had the honesty to stand up and tell this as it was. Now, I believe you me, Deputy Higgins, you do not have proprietary rights on access to people who are suffering in this country. We meet this every day of the week, and as I said earlier on, choices are always unpalatable. It would have been very easy to do a budget 8 or 10 years ago when the question was how much money do you want and how much money can you spend before the end of the year. It's a hell of a different prospect when you have to make choices to get this country back on track, and nobody else is going to do it but ourselves. The question of the European issue is one that we'll be discussing later on. I'll make this point to you about assets that you say are wealthy people that are untouched. Yesterday you had the announcement by the Minister for Public Expenditure and Reform in respect of current spending. After we conclude this business here, the Minister for Finance will bring in his taxation measures. I'd advise you to wait until that. But I would make this point to you. You might refer your analysis from Credit Suisse and whoever else to the Economic Fiscal Council here, which is completely independent, for their observations on what it is the statistics you produce. Because remember this, Deputy Higgins, we're now at the start of a 4-year programme that will bring this country out of the bailout situation that it's in, that will rectify the enormous hole in our public finances, and that will provide an opportunity where we can change the structures of government in this country so that people can have the opportunity to have a job, a career, an opportunity to move on in their lives and contribute to their country and to our economy. That's what this is about. And if you think that we can just sail on regardless of the situation in which we find ourselves in, then obviously you're not reading enough speeches.
Thank you. Deputy Higgins.
I never said that we should carry on regardless. In fact, what I've asked for is a major change of policy. Taoiseach, you will not bring this country out of the depths into which it has been plunged by this crazed system in 4 years. Austerity is going to make the situation far, far worse. Surely you should have learned that from the plight and the suffering of the Greek people. Taoiseach, you didn't answer the question. Why do you leave untouched, for example, the 219 billion of net assets and wealth held by the top 5%, the very, very wealthiest in this state? Why do you not look there? Why do you not even look at, say, the top 5% income earners, the wealthiest of which would have take-home pay of more than €400,000 each per year? But yet you come and you attack young disabled people, you attack parents with 3 and 4 children, you attack the weakest in our society, because you have made a political choice that the wealthy who back Fine Gael will not be touched, but the easy option of attacking the poor and working people will. And would you agree that that is to the shame of your government, to the shame of the Labour Party? And would you agree that critically the type of investment that is needed for the jobs that you say was your priority in your address is not going to come from present circumstances, and that is where the extra wealth in society needs to go, to create the tens of thousands of jobs and remake this broken society?
Thank you.
Well, I've often said that it is not possible to bring a country to a point where it can have economic prosperity by austerity alone. But you know as well as everybody else does, that the problem of being 16 billion out of line in this country is not going to be rectified or fixed by somebody else. It's got to be done by ourselves alone here. And that means a balance between current spending cuts, taxation measures, and an injection of impetus into the economy for the creation of jobs, which are the key to this problem. Now, the government have said quite clearly and have honoured the fact that there will be no increase in income tax. We're going to do that because you seem to think that while the top 5% pay 50% of income tax at the moment, that if you continue to increase income tax at the higher levels, you will drive people away who do create jobs in this country, who invest in this country, and who put people to work. Now, I'd advise you to wait. I'd advise you to wait, Deputy Higgins. I'd advise you to wait until you hear the statement of the Minister for Finance in respect of taxation measures and how it is that government have decided to create an impetus in the employment area for small firms, for medium firms, who are going to take people off the dole, off the live register and into the world of work. And I'd point out to you that in the live register figures just produced recently, the Minister for Social Protection pointed out that to October of this year, 125,000 people moved off the live register. Unfortunately, they were replaced by others. Unfortunately, they were replaced by others. But the point is, Deputy Higgins, that it does show you that there is a great deal of activity going on in the labour market. And when government focus now on changing the structures and cutting out the waste that's been in our governance, that we can then move to a point where we can develop our indigenous economy by restoring that confidence. And remember, we're in a bailout situation here, where we're not masters of our own destiny the way we'd like to be.
Thank you.
So until, Deputy Higgins, we get to a point where we are in control of our own economic sovereignty and our own economic independence, we can't do all the things that we would like to do now. But we're making preparation for that, and we're at the start of a 4-year strategy and a 4-year programme.
Thank you. And that completes Leaders' questions for today. We now moved on to the order of business. Colin the Taoiseach present the order of business.
The order of business, Councillor, shall be referred to the Joint Committee of proposed recommendation by the Dáil Éireann of appointment of members of the Garda Síochána Ombudsman Commission. Number 8, motion regarding referral to select subcommittee of proposed approval by the Dáil Éireann of taxation agreements. Number 8A, motion relief to introduce supplementary estimate vote 40. Number 8B, motion referral of supplementary estimate vote 40 to select subcommittee. Number 20, budget statements and the financial motions by the Minister for Finance 2011 shall be taken today at 3:45 p.m. It is proposed, notwithstanding anything in standing orders, that 1, the Dáil shall sit later than 9 p.m. tonight, and the motion for the general financial resolution shall be moved not later than 12 midnight.